Yes, yeah, good, fantastic. Welcome back, everybody. It is almost this is our last panel before we have Mr. Frank Romano is up next, and he's in attendance as well. Quite an honor to have Francesco here. Francesco. I don't know if everyone knows that is Mr. Romano's first name, and I have a problem calling him Frank, but for some reason I have no problem calling you Francesco, so I'm enjoying myself. Francesco, grazie, grazie. We are about to have a conversation called Pulp Function. Get it? Pulp Function? Printed electronics, security, and the Internet of Print. Before we get into that, however, because the theme of this Print 18 show is Grow Your Business, let's start there and find out how our panelists help printers grow their business. So let's start for the purposes of this panel and all of them in the Printerverse. I refer to everybody by their company names because that is most likely what all of you out there will remember. That chick from DirectMail 2.0 blew me away is most likely what you're going to hear. So DirectMail 2.0. Why don't you can pull the mic out if you don't mind.
Okay, great.
And then tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how your company helps print businesses grow.
Okay, thank you, Deborah.
And look in the camera.
Okay. Hi, everybody at home. That chick from DirectMail 2.0 is Erica Switzer. I'm the Vice President of DirectMail 2.0. And how we help printers grow is by offering them a product that they can sell to their clients that will differentiate them from other printers and direct mail companies. We utilize 6 technologies that integrate seamlessly with direct mail to track and enhance the overall results of those campaigns. So that's how we're helping printers grow.
Thanks so much. HP. Hey, I just saw you. We just hung out at Label Expo for...
Yes, we did.
Oh my
Hi.
God, you must be sick of me already.
On the contrary, I'm so happy to see you here again.
That is the proper answer. You may stay. So
hi.
who are you, what do you do, and how is HP helping print businesses grow?
I'm Lior Krasnovsky. I'm the category manager for security solutions in HP Indigo Americas. And I think that's why I'm here. But if I want to cover more how HP in general helps our customers grow, we provide digital print technology that focuses on 3 main pillars. The first one is productivity, presses that are as productive as possible. The second one is superior print quality, so providing very high print quality that allows charging higher value and higher rate for the products. And the third one is versatility. Actually, security print is very, very closely attached to versatility. So we have versatility in substrates, in inks, in production processes, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, how this versatility takes place in relation to security printing.
And being able to add that functionality to your print shop helps businesses grow, the security ink.
Naturally, security is a high-value application. It has 2 main pillars to it. The first one, you can charge more for it. The second one is the stickiness level is dramatically higher. It's very, very difficult for a brand to change their security solution vendor. So
right.
If you're able to provide a brand with a good security solution, they're very likely to stick with you for a very long run.
That is actually an amazing point. Eric Holdo from Konica Minolta. I think you guys know something about helping businesses grow back there.
I think so. I'm Eric Holdo. I'm the Vice President of the Graphic Communications and Industrial Print line of business for Konica Minolta. And I think where we have excelled is in helping printers make money and finding those applications that will help them that are within maybe their wheelhouse or maybe not in their wheelhouse. And then yes, there are products and services that go back behind that to help deliver on that commitment. But we, in this particular discussion that we're talking about today, we have some unique technologies around conductive ink printing. We're currently about to roll out a whole series of security functionality as well. across the board on several of our products. And things like holographic, variable holographic.
Wait, did you just
numbering.
say variable holographic?
Yeah, variable holograms. So every single one can be different, and that uses our MGI technology. So all sorts of different things across the board, and we are constantly looking for new ideas and new ways of differentiating in the market to help our customers, our printers, grow.
So, John, for the life of me, I cannot imagine why you're on this panel, which is exactly why I let you on it, because I just wanted to find out what the drying guy wants to be on this panel, but I'm sure you have a really good reason.
I do have a very good reason. So, John Palazzolo, I'm Director of Marketing and Sales for adphos North America, and it's great to have two of our partners, both HP. We're not a partner yet with DirectMail 2.0, but we'll work on that later. To have two of my partners up on the panel with me today, and so what we're doing is we're actually enabling at Konica Minolta with the MGI division and also the graphics division to leverage existing technology so that companies can use what they have in-house to do more. So for example, we're working with MGI Sarah Drop Group, and actually our technology is in printed electronics. So they lay down the nano silver ink with the inkjet, and then we come and we sinter that. So we melt the nano particulate pieces of silver to make the printed circuit.
Very cool. So there you go. That's why you're on this panel. So, I kind of like to keep things a little up in the printerverse before we bring them down to earth. So with that being said, the Internet of Things, printed electronics, security, is really about connection, right? To things, from things, with things, and ultimately with, to, and from people is where we want to get to. Without discussing how your products or services work, I want to know how they help create a connection, however you want to define that. Erica?
That's a very fair question. And, in this industry and being an offline marketing tool with print, how do you make that connection and know about it? And what DirectMail 2.0 does is it proves the attribution of print and direct mail. So making that connection, yes, I have a tangible piece, I'm looking at it, I'm interested, where am I going? I'm going online. So all offline marketing tools like print and mail drives people online. So we make that and establish that connection that that's where people are going, and then further that connection through talking to them digitally and enhancing the results by driving them back to the website to convert.
Thank you so much. HP, how are you helping people create connection?
So as HP, we're providing multiple tools where the idea is to create a much better a much better brand connection to the consumer. This is primarily used in the labels and packaging market, and we're seeing it slowly percolating into the commercial print. On the packaging world, we have anything from packages that are personalized or individualized, millions of packages, each one is different, even if it's not a package for you. When you pick it up from the shelf, you know that nobody else had a package like that. We provide tools to serialize products and for customers to later on engage with them and get a very personal experience with it. So you could interact with the package of your bottle or whatever soft drink or liquor and get anything from a recipe to a coupon to a security solution that tells you, yes, this is indeed a genuine product. And we're providing that by serializing the product, and the fact that each product is digitally printed means that each one can be different and create a different experience.
Thanks so much. Eric, Konica Minolta?
So in tying into the Internet of Things and whatnot, we look at a few things. We look at our ability to do printable RFID and printable near-field communications, or NFC. So something as simple as being able to tap my business card over to somebody's phone and transfer my contact information rather than having phone-to-phone transferred, paper now to phone. and that provides an instant connection. So it can be in the print technology, but it can also be in what surrounds the print technology. For example, in the augmented reality space, being able to create personalized experiences based on geolocation, based on any information I can gather about where they physically are, to create an augmented reality experience that ties that physical printed piece to an experience that goes far beyond that. And then that leads into things like coming from, we all are in the multi-channel marketing, cross-media, omni-channel communications, whatever you want to say in that marketplace. But really then tying that into the bricks and mortar experience of shopping, that's another way I think you'll see products, labeling, packaging, whatnot, triggering experience within the retail experience without necessarily having someone go on and connecting to the internet. So.
John?
So connection. The two things that struck to my head first, and again with MGI being one of our partners too, is connecting first because we're in the print electronic space. We're literally connecting electrodes together and pieces together, so there's the physical connection of that, but we're also talking about connecting with the customer. So maybe if you walk into the liquor store, again, everybody buys liquor, well, most. Anyway, if you walk into the liquor store, you might see a package there that literally has a bright, it literally lights up. It lights up. So we enabled that technology by, we're part of the process of, there's a printed battery that is actually printed, that we enable some of the drawing process, as well as the circuit that goes into that to make it flash and do all the pretty colors. So we're connecting people to the package through our process.
I know Jamie has a question, but I have a question for anybody who defines themselves as providing a security solution. I crowdsource a lot of these questions from the print chatters. We meet every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We chat for an hour on Twitter. Sandy Hubbard co-hosts when I'm not around. And I basically ask them for topics that are of interest to them, and that's how we came up with the Printerverse panel topics. And then I go back and I ask them, once the topics are formulated, what would they ask the panel? And they had a lot of questions about this. And the first one is one of those really basic questions that maybe gets overlooked a lot. And it's from a company called Flexo Concepts. And they want to know, how do you ensure that your security printing is secure? Are there certifications? Are there regulations? Like, how is anybody supposed to believe what you guys are saying, I guess, in the nicest way? Either of you can take that first.
So yeah, there are certifications regarding certain aspects of it. So in security printing, you might be talking about check printing, for example. In check printing, you have standards, and they vary by in the U.S. and Europe, and even in Canada, based on, can I eliminate the image? Can I erase the image? Can I bleach the image? Things like that. So there are definitely certifications in the print process. I think a lot of it needs to catch up to the marketplace, though. There's not really certifications that I'm aware of in the conductive electronics space. There are manufacturing considerations that can be certified, but ultimately, can I ensure that that particular printed RFID, for example, can't be duplicated? No.
Wow.
So there is still certification and regulation that needs to catch up to the market.
Wow.
Because this is new to the market. Now, on the other hand, some of the security is just inherent based on what you're doing. I mean, if it's a serialization of an RFID antenna frequency, it's very difficult for somebody to guess as to what that is. So, authenticating product, you can have DNA, essentially strands, for lack of a better term, as part of an ink, so that I can actually validate that an ink is the authentic ink used for that particular lot. So there are certifications around that. But now we're starting to see invisible inks, QR codes that are related to being able to tie to an inspector, let's say, to validate a product, whether they're connected to the internet or not, to validate. So some of them are sort of self-defining standards, but it is a good question, and there is there's a lot that has to be done to catch up from a regulatory perspective.
So then I might ask, why are we pushing it if we can't prove that what we're doing is a valid chain of command, but yet we're telling brands and stuff that we can keep their stuff secure? Well, you can answer again after. Lior, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, Lior, yes.
So just to add before we cover that, in terms of I think that one thing we need to add in terms of how do you know that it's secured?
Yes.
There are quite a few certifications for the actual printing process. The production process is actually quite well defined. The technologies themselves, the print technologies themselves, are less, I would say, under certifications, but the production processes by themselves, knowing that a certain process has been taken care of in terms of chain of custody for the tag and think, the physical safety and the physical whereabouts of the product throughout the production process. Anything to a security check for the operators on the floor. All those are actually quite well documented, and that provides a lot of layers of security in case of security printing.
Eric, did you want to add something?
Yeah, and I agree with that. It's my comment is more about the final product, and once it's out outside of chain of custody, essentially, what happens to it. But again, I think that some of it is defined by that security. I mean, I can have an environment where everything is under camera, where I've got facial recognition that tracks every single person that goes through an area and identifies, every asset. Perhaps I'm printing checks, printing credit cards, whatever it might be. I can track all that. There are certifications around all that. But again, once it leaves there, then it's a battle between the good guys and the bad guys to determine. So
Right.
there are things though. That can provide security, whether it's color shifting inks or it's ultraviolet inks or whatever the holographs and so on and so forth, the holograms that can be applied. And I don't necessarily have to disclose all those security features to one end user. So I might be a Customs and Border Patrol agent, and on our passports there are several layers of authentication that can occur to certify that this is an authentic passport. And the guy that's sitting behind the desk that looks at your passport, he's only looking at the first layer that he is aware of. Then beyond that, you get to that second layer, a higher level of security, and then a third level of security to continue that authentication process. So part of it is the manufacturing process, but part of it is what's the intended end use of the product and how is it going to be viewed. And that's where the rest of that security comes in play. So why are we talking about it now? Because you can get there from here.
Okay, that's completely fair. If as well as crowdsourcing the questions, I also import Jamie the printer from Allegra, Princeton. I've got it right for the first time today. I've been saying it. Thank you, sir. I looked at you and I felt better. Oh, everyone's clapping for me because I said the name of his print shop correctly. Sorry, Jamie's bosses. And Jamie comes here on his own time to listen to these panels and to represent the people and ask questions. As well, he's been gathering questions because he's new to panel topics, and he asks people in his print shop, people he works with. So in a lot of ways, the questions that Jamie asks and the questions that I ask for the people at home are the most important questions you'll hear. Certainly not my questions, I just ask crazy questions. So Jamie, do you have a question about this topic, and to whom, if anyone specifically?
Yeah, I do. It's actually the printed electronics. I'm new to this field. We do a lot of silkscreen, and we've been doing a lot of silkscreen printed electronics. I talked to John about drying, but Konica and HP, do you do direct printing onto electronics, or is it something that your businesses are into? Just trying to learn a little bit more. Is there any way you streamline this, make it quicker?
So direct printing onto electronics. So you're talking about the classic industrial print.
Yeah, kind of like
definition.
maybe plastic panels for materials right on the actual circuit boards, or
Konica Minolta has been in the inkjet business for about 40 years. So there's a long history of component-based products in the industrial space to do things like ceramic, glass, printed circuit board. Printing non-conductive materials onto that type of a platform. Yes. There's also things in the conductive electronics space, though. Not only can you print a circuit, but you can do things like ceramic sintering, where I'm taking powdered ceramics and turning it into solid. And so there's a lot beyond just the print of a conductive trace, essentially. But yes, there is some of that. That really works in conjunction with our industrial inkjet partners that take our heads and utilize them to match the manufacturing needs.
Thanks, Eric.
HP, and then we'll get to some other questions.
So while we do not do electronic printing, we do develop conductive print. You could actually see samples in our booth of conductive print. The conductivity level is not such that can be used for functional, high-end electronics, but it is something that allows you to add functionality to a book, like a guest book or a playbook for kids. It's something that's in development. We've showcased it in our technology fair. I can't really disclose release date, but we've kind of cracked the conductivity problem. Our silver ink is conductive and it's released, and now it's a matter of just working on the other one.
So, Erica, this question is specifically for you, because we do have a nice mixture of people on this panel, again, all representing different kind of aspects of what is functional print. Your product makes print functional in a lot of ways. So that is actually my question. How do you enable functional print? And, hey, and
Thank
how
you
are you
for the
defining it? I'm sorry, I just saw Jason from my creative print shop. I love that guy.
So how do we make print functional? Well, by furthering the recipient's experience. So the printed piece is meant to create brand awareness or, tell a message or provide an offer. And we further that experience into the digital world because that's where people are going. So everybody hears that, it's time to integrate in this industry. It's time to integrate with digital. And the fact of the matter is 90% of people who are interested in what's on the printed material are going to that website. And then 96% of those people are leaving that website, and what DirectMail 2.0 focuses on is re-engaging those interested people and bringing them back so they actually convert. It's all about that attribution and raising that response rate and that conversion rate.
So the postcard is just the first step on the journey of this piece becoming an online marketing tool.
That's right. So it can be any printed piece, really, a postcard, a brochure, a catalog. Any printed piece is one step in the communication, but 80% of sales are made between the 8th and the 12th contact, right? So you have to continue that conversation through digital means, and that's what integrating and omni-channel marketing is all about.
I'm going to read this question the way it was asked, and I'm not sure if it makes sense because I'm not a printer. So if it doesn't, my apologies if I copied it wrong from the print shop. But Omega High Impact Print Solutions in New Jersey and in Florida wanted to know, does any of this, we're back to security printing again, I'm sorry, they're very interested in that. Does any of the security printing does it present a low or high cost manufacturing process? Does that make sense? Okay, I'm glad. Great question, Omega HIPS. Anyone who'd like to take that to start?
So with Indigo, we provide actually a very broad suite of security solutions. Some of them are included in the workflow solution we provide, like the ability to print very small microtext or very small QR codes in places where it's very difficult to get rid of them. We also provide a suite of security inks, UV sensitive blue, UV sensitive yellow, a couple of tagant inks, infrared sensitive green. So we have a very broad suite of security inks. The idea is to provide a solution in one pass, in one file. So you have a single pre-press file, goes to the press, and after the time it takes to print that roll or stack of sheets, you have the product ready with all the security features in it. So I think that in terms of production cost, it's a low production cost.
Eric, anything to add to that?
I think it depends on the existing process and whether it's whether I've taken what might be a traditional analog process and moved it into a digital short run, if you will, or variable process. So the answer is yes in some cases, no in other cases. It may be a little more expensive on a per piece basis, depending on what I'm doing, especially when we're talking about conductive electronics. It may be a little more expensive, but compared to what? And compared to the overall process of using traditional methods of developing traces and whatnot on a printed circuit board, it might be greatly different in cost. It really is, it's application specific, but as you mentioned, it's absolutely true that in the print technology of things, as far as protecting via print, it's typically going to be less expensive than other methods, because now you're not buying specialized stocks and specialized features over and above the base production of that product.
John, yes. I'm so glad to hear from you.
Shortly, like Eric was saying, and it depends on what the product it is. We're highly involved in the manufacturing process of lottery tickets. So here we're talking about lottery tickets, scratch-off lottery tickets that now may have a value of $1 million. So to make sure that that is a secure element,
Right.
absolutely, not an inexpensive process. But we also are involved in making sure that cigarettes are not counterfeited. So again, it's one pack of cigarettes, $14 now. Any of you smokers? No, I don't know how much they are, but
I think
but
they're
again,
more than that, honestly.
but the value, even though it's one pack of cigarettes, now you're talking about someone who is trying to copy them, and from other sources, and so it's not as critical as like a lottery ticket. So to your point, Eric, it really depends on the value and the type of security for the product. You can get some great security for not a whole lot of money.
So, before I ask the last question, does anyone in the audience maybe have a question? I know it's a weird topic, but Jamie the printer, any other questions from you?
Not really on security printing, but
No, you can ask
security
whatever-
in general.
Go.
Like I know DirectMail 2.0, it's a lot of internet based, so it's all a portal. People get their information that the mails come in. I think you can record conversations when they call into a number. So security-wise, customers are going to want to know how secure that is, because some of our customers are very particular about their mail list. Nobody can see this. We have to sign waivers.
Somebody's did
Nobody
a little
gets to touch
research
it.
on you.
They're actually a partner of ours, so I'm
Oh,
so excited to see you
bonus.
here. Love Allegro Princeton. And it's a very fair question, with everything out there, us being a cloud-based, software. We are on the AWS, which is the highest secured server out there. But in addition to that, we are completely compliant with the Electronic Communications Privacy Act. So, for example, with the phone calls, before the phone rings through to the business, it says this call may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance purposes. The person needs to know that they're being recorded. Also, with our social media integration and our integration with the Google Display Network, we cannot tell your clients who the people are that are being followed. We can just tell them that they are being followed and how many times they are seeing the advertisements. So there is a lot of security that goes along with the product, and we do stay in line with the current, rules and regulations that are in conjunction with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So ultimately, it's interesting because what it boiled down to at the print chat was, are we discussing a viable long-term business here, or are we addressing a fad that may be addressed in another way at another time? We're trying to, we're using print to secure things in a digital world, which is kind of interesting. So it's an ethereal question. There's really nothing to it more than, is this a long-term business opportunity? I'm sure, and you're all going to see it differently, which is why the Printerverse rocks, quite frankly.
I actually love this question because one of our biggest missions is to keep print and mail relevant right?
I hate that word.
I know you do, but it's the truth, right? We've heard this buzz going around for years that, print is dying or direct mail is dying, our industry's dying, and that really is just not the case. It's evolving. And as email inboxes are going up and becoming more saturated, your mailbox is becoming less saturated. So what's happening? More businesses are turning to print and mail to get their message out because digitally, oh my gosh, people are exposed to 2,900 marketing messages per day. That's incredible. Right? So when you have an actual tangible piece, it makes a higher impact, but that continuing the communication and continuing that dialogue with the people that you're targeting with your print advertising is so important. So I think this industry is evolving, and I definitely don't think it's going away anytime soon because of that integration.
Thanks so much.
So I'm fortunate enough to work both with general commercial printers and with the labels and packaging market. And I can tell you, definitely on the packaging side, print, security as a mean to secure the end product in print is not only growing now, it's definitely going to continue and grow in the future. It's a problem that brands are suffering from very clearly. Globalization requires them to deal with different pricing strategies for different geographies. Gray market diversion is a huge problem for them, and print is probably the most effective way to deal with it. Add a track and trace solution and make sure that the product is sent to the right place. With Indigo, we are offering what we call a covert serialization, because the first thing that people do in track and trace is they take off the serial number. So a gray market diverter would simply take it off. We provide multiple different ways to provide serialization in a covert way, in a way that cannot be removed. And with that, I think that the value is going to continue and grow in the future.
Thank you so much. Eric.
Yeah, I agree with that, and rather than repeating any of it, suffice it to say that there's always going to be new technology that makes some of our technology that we're investing in now obsolete. That's just the way it goes. However, we're at the birth of a whole new generation of capability as far as security. So investments now and seeding the market now and making decisions now about it is going to ride well into the future until such a time when some of that changes. And who knows what we're going to see. We may see standard electronics all of a sudden be printed with full color and create multiple layers with different colors. I mean, there's no end to what can happen because there's a lot of smart people out there designing it.
Thank you so much. John?
And just to say what he was saying there about, I think they've already answered the question very, very well, but there are so many different ways, and it's not a fad. I mean, as we continue on, come on, Facebook was just hacked again, 40 million, 50 million. So not only personally, but again with security to make sure that the gray market is wider than it is black, and those things. So security for product, for personal security is not a fad. It's just going to grow and grow and grow.
I want to thank all the panelists so much for your time. Everybody in attendance, thank you so much. Everyone watching on Facebook and YouTube. In about 10 minutes, Mr. Frank Romano is here to talk about the legacy of print and his Museum of Printing out in Haverhill. Am I saying it right? Haverhill. Damn Boston people. Massachusetts out there. Do not, if you're not doing anything, grab a cup of coffee and come and join us. Thank you.